We have not mentioned OG Anunoby or Brandon Ingram yet. Do you have any level of interest on either of those players, James?
OG, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Brandon Ingram, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Um, to be fair and to be like just completely transparent, I've hardly watched him play basketball since like the third year of his career, probably. He's just not like a super attractive player to me. I think that he's like just kind of like dribble happy in the mid range. Like he likes to dance in the mid range and just like where he scores, the type of like scoring player that he is, like it like awkwardly over, like it feels in the same vein as Tobias Harris. Like he's like Tobias in like a different font. Like he's a taller, like
Tattoo.
lankier Tobias. Yeah, where it's just like I feel like in 3 years, if you traded for him and gave him a good contract, like we'd all be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Um, I don't hate it. And I think I would probably try to come around on it as like, oh, he's a third scorer. He can kind of score on all three levels. He's lengthy. He should be able to defend, but that's almost more frustrating when he doesn't because it's like, what are we missing? So I don't love it. When you flip to OG Anunoby, the only thing is like he's never been an all-star. You're really gonna like max out an all-star level, like a non-all-star. We've
Another
already
one.
done
Yeah.
that once already. But you got to imagine that he impacts winning at a much higher level. He's just such a great defender, so stout and strong, great rebounder. Injury concern is obviously there. He hardly plays, so
Yeah.
that is definitely a concern. Even like he had the whole injury to start the year, and then he had the shoulder surgery, and then he had another injury, and then he had the hamstring in the playoffs. So he definitely doesn't come without those concerns either. But he fits really, really nicely as a spot up shooter, a like really third ball handler, but he can do it. He did that to the Sixers in that series. He handled, shot to the mid range, gets to the rim, and he puts pressure on teams as a defender. So definitely leaning way more Anunoby there, but I don't think that either of them are guys that like are at the near top of the list.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram's a little bit better than you're giving him credit, but I certainly hear you.
Probably.
He's a good rebounder. He's a good playmaker. He's a far better playmaker. He's a guy that can put it on the floor and create for others.
Mm,
But it goes back to my shooting and spacing conversation that for
yeah.
all my critiques of Tobias Harris attempting 3.7 3-point attempts per game, that this season Brandon Ingram attempted 3.8 3-point attempts per game, and
Yucky.
that's just not good enough. Now, in his defense, like I do think there are some real issues with the fit with Zion, the fit with CJ McCollum, that McCollum essentially became their long range gunner, as well as the emergence of Trey Murphy. That there are 2 seasons where Ingram did attempt 6.2 3-point attempts per game, 6.2 and 6.3, I believe it is. That's a much more appealing figure there. But again, like we have to go off what we're seeing in front of us right now. And I am with you on that conversation as a whole. I do have an interesting kind of hypothetical with OG. So I operated pretty much under the assumption after the Knicks made that trade that there's no doubt that they're going to be giving him a max contract, signing him. That Fisher article certainly did not read like that was the case, that it does
Yeah.
feel like he's going to hit free agency. My reading the tea leaves and speculating here, I think the Knicks have their eyes on Mikal Bridges, that I think they want to add the missing Villanova piece. So say the Knicks give a call, we work a 3-team trade between the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, and the Philadelphia 76ers. That Bridges heads to New York, OG Anunoby comes to Philadelphia, and that the Nets do get the kind of their rebuild package. In this situation, the Knicks are the ones doing the legwork. That I think the Sixers likely to have to attach probably a draft pick or two, probably 2 draft picks. I would probably guess 1 first-round pick to each team, the Knicks and the Nets there. But you walk away with OG and can give him that contract. Are you cool in that world?
I don't know if I want to facilitate anything for them.
Wow,
If we exist in a world where he's a free agent, why would I help?
that's a good point.
Like if he's gonna like if him and his agent are okay signing a contract to be traded here, they'd be just as okay just signing that contract, right?
His agent, by the way, is Leon Rose's son, who's the owner of the
Yeah,
Knicks.
yeah. So while
GM.
I don't imagine that is what will happen, but I think in this case, if you're looking at it like, oh, he can either sign and trade, and the only thing that we're getting is OG Anunoby, I would just imagine that they would try to just sign him outright and not facilitate the Knicks getting a very good quality player that would help them long term and also like
Sure.
curate a good vibe. Like fuck them. I don't want that at all. Like I hope Bridges gets traded back to the West Coast and is farther away from his friends. And I hope all of them have to move to different cities and stop hanging out.
All right. All fair. You will not hear me sticking up for the New York Knicks whatsoever. I do think that's a possibility. I think that I could see a couple phone calls occurring that way. It would be way easier if the Nets were just open to trading Bridges. But then again, in the same situation, like the Knicks can probably outbid the Sixers for a trade. So that they are loaded with draft picks, that team,
Yeah.
and they have the Julius Randles of the world that they're willing to deal and can
How
make
many
the
more
salary.
years does he have on his contract?
I believe 2, but that's going off the top of my
Oh
head
my
there. So
god. I thought he was
yeah,
done
not
that
on.
quick. Jesus.
Yeah.